Today we're going to be diving into why refurbished hardware isn't just a budget option, it's also the best choice. It saves money, it's better for the environment, and it just makes sense. So let's begin to see how that happens. First, I just want to start off and show you how to participate in this webinar. We do have 3 different options. You can use the chat to participate, step 1. You can also use the Q&A to ask questions. We'll be having a Q&A later in this session. And then lastly, you can click show captions to see what everyone is saying if you need that option. Here is a quick overview about everything we'll be covering in this webinar. We're going to start with some quick introductions. We'll walk through what refurbished hardware is and what our program is at TechSoup. We'll break down the differences between refurbished and used. We'll also have some sustainability tidbits. We'll end with a Q&A. And then at the very end, definitely stick around because one lucky attendee will be taking home a free MacBook. So that's very, very exciting. Before we jump in, though, I want to introduce everyone that will be speaking today. First up is Kelly Sullivan. She is a director here at TechSoup. She's been working with the refurbished hardware program for the past 16 years, and she's going to kick it off with some history of the program. Next is Matthew Young. He is the president of Electronics Value Recovery, or EVR. He's going to walk us through the refurbishing process, how the supply chain works, and also why it matters for nonprofits and the planet. We also have Corey Halbert. He is the TechSoup climate lead and also part of the Data Commons team. He's going to be bringing the climate and sustainability lens to today's conversation. And then I'm Chloe Mankin. I'm an associate program manager here at TechSoup, and I'm going to be the host for this webinar today. So let's give it up to Kelly, who's going to start us off with the brief history of the refurbished hardware program here at TechSoup.
Thanks, Chloe. I'm having troubles with my video. Sorry, 1 second. There we go. Hi, everybody. And thank you all for joining our webinar today. So I want to start at the beginning of the program. Back in 2006, one of our earliest TechSoup team members, Jim Lynch, had a very bold vision. He was a passionate environmentalist, and he believed that nonprofits should have access to high quality business class computers, and that we could do that while keeping valuable tech out of the landfills. We didn't just enter a space, we pioneered it. We were the first to launch a refurbished hardware retail marketplace focused entirely on the nonprofit sector. Our model emphasizes low cost, high quality tech that helps stretch limited budgets while reducing e-waste. The commitment still drives us today. From the beginning, we set out to do things a little bit differently. The TechSoup Refurbished Computer Initiative was the first of its kind to partner with vetted refurbishers, setting the standard for product testing, professional cleaning, warranties, and ongoing support. Our goal? To deliver not just devices, but reliable tools that nonprofits can count on. We carefully curate and manage our catalog to ensure only the best refurbished tech makes it into our marketplace. That includes maintaining return rates well below industry norms, a testament to the care and attention that goes into every device. In the near 20 years of providing refurbished equipment, we have greatly evolved. Our first device was a Dell Pentium 4 with 256 megabytes of RAM and a 32 gigabyte hard drive. It was running Windows XP, and it only had a 90-day warranty. Imagine trying to run a computer like that today. Today, we offer a robust catalog of powerful computers with Windows 11, 2-year warranties, and a wide range of mobile devices to support you and your staff while you're away from the office. We're proud to offer trusted name brand products, and we continue to work to expand the refurbished catalog, adding more value with each passing year. It's about more than savings. It's about helping organizations increase their efficiency, reach, and overall impact. Next slide. So now let's talk about scale. Since we sold that very first computer in January of 2006, we've distributed nearly 195,000 refurbished devices to nonprofits across the country. Just last year alone, we delivered close to 1,000 devices per month, a total a total of $4.5 million worth of refurbished technology put into the hands of organizations doing critical work. So what keeps us growing? Listening, learning, and adapting. We regularly review the policies and processes to identify opportunities to improve the program. We're monitoring issues closely and working collaboratively with our partners. We're able to anticipate before they impact our customers and resolve unavoidable problems quickly and effectively. This proactive approach helps us maintain trust in our partners and in the products we offer. This is an ongoing process. We continuously track performance and make data-driven improvements to our program. Our goal is to ensure that nonprofits not only receive reliable technology, but also feel confident in every step of the journey. That's why our customers keep coming back, because they know we care, they know we deliver. And finally, we're excited to share that this program has grown beyond the organizations themselves. In recognition of the hard work nonprofit employees do every day, our partners have extended access to the refurbished hardware catalog to nonprofit staff members as well. That means your team can now take advantage of the same discounts, quality, and trusted service. We're proud to power your missions with tech that works, and we're excited about what we'll accomplish together next. So now we're going to hear from Matt Young, president of one of our trusted refurbisher partners, Electronics Value Recovery. Matt is going to walk us through some of the refurbishing process and how using refurbished devices impacts our daily lives.
Thanks, Kelly. So I think it's important to understand the distinction of a used computer versus a refurbished computer. A used device can be anything that in any sort of condition. You could literally take the device you're on now, go on to the Facebook markets, the eBays of the world, list it as a used device, and somebody out there potentially will buy it, depending on the age and other stuff of that device. For a refurbished device, the key is that out of the box, it's expected to perform like new. So the software that you're getting on a refurbished computer is legally licensed. We pay Microsoft for the licenses that are on all the refurbished devices that we distribute. These devices go through a 130-point functional and quality inspection to make sure that every aspect of this device works when you get it out of the box. We fully cycle the batteries, and if they do not meet 80% of the original capacity, we replace them with new batteries. All the drivers should be working the second you pull that device out. So all of the features like your webcam, your fingerprint reader, are out of the box going to be working the way you would expect them to. And all the key functions of the device are tested to make sure that you've got something that's going to last for years. We will test an individual piece of hardware about 4 different times throughout our process, just to make sure that as it goes through each different step of the process, all the things that I previously mentioned are done properly. Now, all of this is further protected by a warranty. So a used device is typically going to be sold as is, where is, but a refurbished device, like the ones that are sold on TechSoup, are going to have a 2-year warranty. So if any of the things that I just mentioned aren't working the way that you expect it, you're going to be supported and be able to kind of get through any problems that you're having. Next slide, please. So the refurbished devices have gone through a comprehensive process. They have a warranty, and out of the box, they're expected to perform like a new device. A used device can be in essentially any type of condition, and there's no guarantees, no warranty that they were ever handled or processed or will meet any sort of standard that you as a consumer could hope for the device when you get it. Next slide, please. So one of the great things about refurbishing is the environmental impact it has. The vast majority of greenhouse gas emitted happens during the manufacturing process. Maintaining the device, charging the battery is de minimis compared to all that investment of resources that goes in when creating a brand new device. By refurbishing a device, you're extending that device's life cycle. These may be, former computers from Fortune 500 companies that are going to buy their employees new devices every 3 or 4 years. By giving that computer another 2, 3, 4-year life cycle, all the resources, all the energy, all the raw materials that were required on the front end manufacturing process is essentially cut in half. The EPA has studied this, and compared to even just recycling a device, by refurbishing it, according to the WARM data, it is 10 times better for the environment and causes the equivalent of 10 times less emission of CO2. And if you look at this from January 2006 to December 2024, in the last 20 years, the RHW program has been able to divert or avoid the creation of 86,595 tons using the EPA WARM data to quantify it. A lot of people like these equivalent units like cars, trash bags, wind turbines, and you can see some of those numbers on the screen right now. And thank you. So I think Corey is going to talk now about the TechSoup Data Commons and how that connects and some of the cool resources they have available there.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate the intro there. And Matt's exactly right. I'm Corey. I'm working on the Data Commons team here at TechSoup. You just heard a lot of statistics and numbers and variables relating to the refurbished hardware program and sustainability from Matt and Kelly. And so now I want to briefly talk to you about how you can explore some of those data sets and variables. So the Data Commons team here at TechSoup, our work aims on improving access to data and the use of data for the nonprofit community. We all know that nonprofit staff wear many hats, and there seems to be a big gap in terms of accessing data to make better decisions, write more successful grant programs and proposals, and deliver impactful services to our communities. And data is a really powerful tool in serving that use. So the information you're looking at here on this table is talking about one of our tools that hopefully addresses some of those challenges. And Chloe, if you could drop the link to our TechSoup Data Commons site. This is a site that you're welcome to explore. It's a free tool. And the schema was originally developed by Google. We partnered with them last year to create an instance of their open data sharing platform that caters to the nonprofit world. And in this, there's a tremendous number of variables and data sets. You can see on that left side, there's over 120 sources, 250,000 variables, a huge amount of data available to you. This also includes TechSoup refurbished hardware data, our global network data, and civil society data sets. One of the most exciting things about this tool is that all the data sets are joined and interconnected. And that's based on time and place so that you can explore some really interesting, potentially really interesting relationships between things like refurbished hardware data and maybe demographic variables or economic or environmental variables. And this is all without the need for any hard coding or data skills. There's even a natural language search available for you, the same that you use when you go to a Google search, for you to explore the data more easily. So if we go to the next slide, I can give you an example of what some of these visualizations look like. This is a quick map I put together. It probably took me maybe 30 seconds using the tool. And you can make it too, just as easily on the site. So what we're looking at here is the number of nonprofits that purchase refurbished hardware from TechSoup on a state level. And what's powerful about this is we can start to explore the data visually. We might start looking at why New York or California or Texas hold some of the largest number of participants in the program. And maybe it can lead to us exploring why those states are represented, or maybe explore some other places that are underrepresented. If we go to the next slide, we can show how we do a little bit more with the data. So this is where I get really excited about data commons because of what you can do with comparing data and contrasting data. Here we have a scatter plot that compares states that participated in the refurbished hardware program. And then on the x-axis, we have median household income, which is a census.gov data set. And again, I made this plot in maybe a minute or so. I didn't need to clean or join the census data to the TechSoup refurbished hardware data. It was already done for me. And we can start to look for some opportunities to come away with learnings from this. And so we can look at maybe that little cluster of more dense population that points at 70 to 75K. And we can look at those states and see maybe there's a regional story there, or maybe there's a policy story there that we might want to explore. So this is just a very quick example of what you can do. Obviously, there's a huge amount of data available there for you to explore and much more likely interesting graphs to be made. So I encourage you to follow that link that Chloe dropped in the chat. And also feel free to reach out if you want to learn more about the Data Commons team's work. My email is being dropped in the chat too, in addition to some resources. But I think overall, it's a really great way for you to interact with the refurbished hardware program data. And you can explore some of the relationships and stories that this data might reveal to us. So I'll hand it back to Chloe to wrap things up.
Thank you, Corey. I think we do have a quick question in the chat for you. It looks like the question is, do you have similar numbers for Canada yet?
So I think, Kelly, you could confirm that for me, but I'm pretty sure the refurbished hardware program is US centric. Am I wrong?
Actually, Canada just rejoined the refurbished hardware program, and a lot of the other countries that TechSoup partners with, have their own independent refurbished hardware programs. So it's very local to each country. But we just started managing the Canada program as well.
So all to say, at some point, hopefully we could get all that data up on the Data Commons site. But there is proxy data sets on the site. We have research entities that contribute data, or national research groups that contribute. So I'm sure there's some data sets out there that you could find on the Data Commons that could be at least similar to the things we're looking at here.
Great, thank you. Yeah, let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, so there is a lot out there on how you can make a positive impact. Here are just a quick few ways to get started, and I'll definitely add this to the chat when we get to the next slide. First, we do have an article that breaks down how to shop from refurbished electronics, what makes them different from used, and how to navigate the language. Next, even though the second link is a bit older, this piece has some great tips for conserving energy at the office, whether you're working from home or downtown. And then finally, if you've got an old laptop or phone laying around, you can donate to TechSoup through our end-of-life web form. We're going to be covering shipping. We would wipe your data, and we do give this device a second life. We help the planets and nonprofits at the same time. Great, so we're going to be moving on to our Q&A. Yeah, and while we do this, I'll be setting up the final raffle. So Kelly can definitely lead this.
Having a hard time getting my Zoom to unmute today. So does anybody have any questions about the program or guidance on buying refurbished out there in the marketplace? I personally have been buying refurbished devices for many years. I think the very first thing I bought was a Vitamix blender. Straight from Vitamix, they have a refurbished link in their website, and I saved a few $100s, and I it's, in my opinion, they're just as good as, they're actually a little bit better than new, because they go through an inspection process that that new products just don't go through, and they're getting looked at up, down, sideways, every which way, that you don't get that level of QA on a production line for brand new electronics. They put them together, they put them in a box, they send them out. And a refurbished device that you get from a manufacturer and OEM, and from a lot of programs, particularly like Refurbished hardware program at TechSoup, those products have been inspected so thoroughly, and so I have a pretty high level of trust in buying refurbished or recertified electronics. It's like buying a new car. I can't do it. So let's see if we have any questions here. So Regina's asking if there are desktop computers available. There are. We have a pretty solid balance of desktops and laptops and mobile devices available. And just a little side note, right now we are doing a 10% rebate on most of our refurbished computers, laptops and desktops. And also something to note is that Windows 10 is going out of support at the end of October of this year. So we also have an article on the website about that, but we will phase out all Windows 10 products at the end of this month. So if you're dying to get something with Windows 10 because you're really devoted to it, by all means, grab it now while you can. They will also, largely Windows 10 devices are scheduled to disappear from the market at the end of June in general. So there's that. And we have a nice offering of Windows 11 computers, as I mentioned before. And yeah, go check out our catalog. Okay, so let's see. Adrian, thank you. I hope that you find what you're looking for in our refurbished catalog. Just as a note, if you don't find what you're looking for in our refurbished catalog, we also have a form that you can fill out to request something that you don't see. And we work with all the partners to see if we can source the item that you're looking for, or items, and work on getting that for you. And let's see. Larissa says, getting buy-in from my management might be challenging. I buy used tech for myself and my family through back market, so I'm fine with it. Knowing what goes into your program helps. Thanks, Larissa. Yeah, you can always reach out to us and we can help provide information from your management on buying refurbished tech. That article that is linked in the webs on the last page there, that speaks about the differences between used and refurbished, has been a big help to a lot of other folks that are trying to get buy-in. Okay. What kind of service plan do we offer? Well, I'm not really clear on what you mean by service plan. We have a warranty. All of our products have warranties, and they range anywhere from 90 days to 2 years. It really does depend on the product. Our Apple Watches, for example, are a 90-day warranty. And the warranty is essentially going to protect you, the consumer, of against any problems that you may experience with your device. So if it arrives and you turn it on and you get a blue screen, you can invoke the warranty. If for one of the computers that are 2-year warranties, a year in, if your hard drive fails for some reason, you can use the warranty. So we have a very solid warranty program, and we have very solid refurbishers supporting our warranties and their warranties and backing up those products. Let's see. Are there some brands that are better refurbished from an IT perspective, like laptops or phones? Matt, do you want to answer that question?
Oh, way to bring me into an argument where a lot of people have chosen sides. I think a lot of it is what works with the systems that you already have. It's not necessarily worth it if you're a strictly Windows shop to start buying Apple machines just because they're, refurbished and going to be better sort of refurbished. So it's more about like getting high quality equipment at a great value price that works with the systems and processes that you have. I think that the kind of the big three of Dell, HP, Lenovo, between the three of them, put out 60-70% of the non-Apple devices. One of the key things is to look for business class equipment versus consumer grade. So a lot of times, and pretty much only what you're going to find in the TechSoup catalog is business and enterprise class equipment, while the consumer grade equipment tends to be, right out of the factory, a little less underpowered, not have as nice of finishes, not have all the greatest features, bells and whistles. But by getting kind of some of what was the more high-end equipment when it originally came out of the factory, then that's gonna last and kind of perform more up to standards for many more additional years, and kind of the cheapest option that you could have gotten.
Thanks, Matt. I have another question for you, from Harry. While the Windows 11 transition goes on, are there any plans to provide some mechanism to upgrade Windows 10 machines, either with a processor chip or other component upgrades? There's a lot of hardware that have Win 10, and that will go to waste. This is a well-covered discussion, Harry.
This is certainly a well-covered discussion. I know TechSoup did a blog post, because I helped provide some feedback for it, around what options exist given the Windows 10 sunset that's about to come and happen. And so if Kelly can drop that link in the chat, that might be kind of a good high-level overview, because there are some, in certain circumstances, options where you can pay and extend the security updates of Windows 10, things like that, but there's not going to be any major support. They're really trying hard to migrate as many folks to Windows 11 as possible. Most Windows 10 machines, even if they are older than the 8th generation Intel CPU. So this all comes down to like there's certain security features, because new types of computer viruses and bugs were figured out like 6-7 years ago. And so all computers made after the 8th generation Intel I series processor have hardware. They're designed and engineered in such a way that these kinds of bugs and viruses wouldn't be able to work on them. And Windows made that one of the requirements for Windows 11 with TPM2 and secure kernel and things of that nature. That's a lot of technical stuff to say. If you're using a Windows 10 device, there will be pop-ups to migrate to Windows 11, even if you don't meet the necessary hardware. I would still recommend doing that just because at least you're going to get security updates to the machine. It might not run as speedily as it's meant to, given that the hardware is older and probably not as powerful and doesn't have some of the key features. But, they're really looking for people to migrate to Windows 11, Windows 11 compatible hardware. And I'll say, like, as a refurbisher, we're not selling anything below that 8th generation of units in our refurbished equipment at this point. And pretty much all refurbishers, if you're following the Windows licensing rules, are going to be stopping doing that. So it's a challenge. Linux could be an opportunity for some of this lower end hardware, but they're really trying to force and age out different pieces of equipment by how they're doing this.
Thanks for all of that, Matt. We did have another question about supporting Linux and alternative options. And that kind of does connect with the question about, or the statement about there's going to be a lot of devices out there that will become, Windows obsolete, we'll say, because of the end of life and the requirement of the CPU. And right now we don't have any of those options available in our catalog. However, they are being explored because we certainly do see the vast amount of devices that are going to not be available all of a sudden, and useful. And personally, I am always thinking about how we can solve problems like that. That's just kind of the nature of my job, and so we are looking into other possibilities, and if that's something that makes sense and could help organizations. And also Dan S. A bit ago asked the question if if organizations can purchase in bulk hundreds of desktops and laptops, and the answer is yes. Dan, I'm going to provide a link to we have a web form where you can specifically request items, and there it is in the chat for you. And you can use that to reach out to us and just give us some information about what you're looking for, and we will get on the hunt for you and work on getting the best pricing as well. And let's see if we have anything else here. So Joanne is asking about audio and video capabilities. We don't currently offer any external cameras or microphones. We do have some headsets available in our catalog, but we currently don't have any external cameras or video conferencing devices. But we are definitely exploring, again, options to have in not only the refurbished catalog, but the overall hardware catalog at TechSoup. Expansion of items is always top of mind. What makes sense for nonprofits, how we can help you do your work. So the catalog at large, Chloe put in a link for the entire hardware catalog at TechSoup, and it is ever evolving. So Joanne, please just keep checking back with us, and we might have what you're looking for. Okay, I think that I think that we have covered most of the questions. We still have plenty of time if you have more questions, but in the meantime, our vice president of hardware is here, Shasta Keating, and I wanted to give Shasta an opportunity to speak for a moment and say hi to everybody.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for your lifelong commitment to the TechSoup refurbished hardware program. You're certainly a model for not just environmental stability and stewardship, but also in running a very successful program that makes technology accessible for our nonprofits. You pay so much attention to the needs of our nonprofits. You pay so much attention to how our efforts are impacting the environment. And it truly is an honor to have you as my colleague. Corey, thank you for doing so much for the future so that large language models, as we move towards artificial intelligence, will be able to look at important things like climate and help generations of human beings to be able to do better by our planet and our Earth. I'm so grateful for the work that you do every day. Matt, thank you for being an incredible partner. One of the things that I love is that when you think of the refurbished hardware industry, you're not only supporting the idea that we want to make a better world, you're not only able to access technology that is affordable, but you're helping a ton of folks like Matt and his leadership on engaging individuals with jobs for the circular economy and engaging and fighting for doing the right thing is really powerful, and I have so enjoyed working with you. Last but not least, Chloe Mankin, thank you for being our host. Chloe is truly a gifted person. She can be, she's not only committed to the environment and to excellent program management, but she's always ready to say yes and help out. And this is just one example of her leadership in coming through and hosting you all and pulling together this wonderful presentation for you. Last but not least, by virtue of you guys being here, I know you care about the environment. I know that you're in a cash constraint situation. I know that you're looking for good value. We're working really hard for you. We're trying to get this program to be safe as an investment through our best in class, as Kelly will always remind me, warranties and support. So thank you. Please celebrate Earth Day with us. Please let folks know that this is an option that's available to our sector. And together, let's do more for our planet.
Thanks, Shasta. We have another question that I'm going to defer over to Matt again. Lee Grisham asks, if a majority of our work is web-based, what should we look for in a refurbished laptop?
I think that's a good question. If it were me, by hearing the majority of it is web-based, you don't need the largest amount of RAM, the biggest hard drive. So you're really in kind of a sweet spot for value-based units. If you're looking for more battery capacity, you might be looking at something that has a little bit of a smaller screen or is a bit heavier and bulkier. So that's, really a sweet spot for electronics in general, because if you want something that's highly portable, you can get that. If you want something that is going to have the longer battery life, the bigger screen, you can get that, but it's just not going to be as convenient. I'm always a big fan of like 14-inch Dell HP Lenovo's. I think are kind of the sweet spot as long as they're business class units. you can get some really quality devices very affordably there.
Yeah, I agree. All of my my work computer here is is tiny and mighty, but I know that I can do a lot more on that. I also have a refurbished Surface tablet that I use for portability and moving around, and when I have to go here or there and still compute. And that is mostly for web-based stuff that I'm doing. Matt, can you just kind of touch on Chromebooks for just a second? Because I've noticed in our catalog and in general, Chromebooks have become more and more popular. And I think a lot of folks might not know the difference between like the robustness of a Chromebook versus a laptop, for example. You're on mute still? Mm.
I think what I was originally saying, a lot of it depends on kind of what you're already set up with. You don't want to have to necessarily reinvent a wheel. And Chromebooks have good management tools across very broad deployments. They're designed to be more commoditized units. They have a lower kind of purchase price. They use Chrome OS or some variation of, not a Windows-based operating system in 99% of circumstances. And they're built more to the kind of consumer grade. It almost feels like the philosophy is just like, we'll buy in bulk and it'll be cheaper to fix the units that break rather than necessarily like have super premium high-end hardware and equipment to begin with. But you're going to get a much lower price point for, a lower quality computer essentially. But the real benefit of them is if you're deploying hundreds or even thousands of units, they have some very powerful tools for how you manage your fleet of the deployed units. Or if you just need like internet access at a very low price point, it can provide that as well. Do love a Lenovo ThinkPad, Aisha and Corey. I have one sitting right over there. They can be very good units and high repairability scores, which is helpful as a refurbisher.
Yep. Okay, so Carrie Jackson, you're asking if there are grants available for refurbished hardware. And speaking broadly, speaking for TechSoup specifically, we don't offer any grants, unfortunately. However, there may be opportunities out there in the greater country for grants specifically for hardware and devices. And I believe that GrantStation also is software, thank you, Chloe, that offers opportunity, like broadens your grant opportunities. So that is something that TechSoup does offer. And we do have a GrantStation promotion at least annually. So if you want to keep an eye out for that, I think there's one coming in. Oh, Chloe says every February. Thank you, Chloe. And September. There you go. So yeah, if you keep your eyes open for the GrantStation promo, you can get in on a better deal for that, and you might be able to find what you're looking for. And let's see. I think Adrian's asking, what is the life expectancy of most laptops and when should we plan to purchase a new one? So I can say that, well, we should speak to the life expectancy of a new device and then maybe a refurbished device. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah. I think a part of it is what degree of maintenance is the device going through. So Aisha just put in the chat that, she was able to extend the life cycle of her devices by changing the batteries a few times. And Lenovo's, that's made very easy because a lot of the batteries are on the outside. And so you don't need extra tools, things like that, to be able to swap a battery. That's one of the key things in our refurbishing process, that we have multiple checks and validations to ensure that a battery is going to hold a charge. That means that device can operate on battery for several hours. If you're playing multiple games and doing some photo editing and torrenting a bunch of files and all sorts of things, any battery might collapse under like 2 hours of that incredible strain. But the goal is that at least 80% of the original battery capacity is what we test for inside of our processes. And if it's below those kinds of thresholds, we're going to replace them. Typically, batteries can be around 3 to 4 years. They say 1,000 cycles, which is a full discharge and recharge of that device, is about the expected capacity for a battery. So if you're a power user, you're plugging in, plugging out multiple times, you're going to go through some of those components faster than if you're somebody who it's sitting on a desk, it's never moved, things like that. I would anticipate on a new device, you're probably looking at about 4 to 6 years, with 6 years kind of being the longer tail end of a device. And on a refurbished device, you're probably looking around a 3-year life cycle.
Great. Yeah, I would definitely agree with the refurbished. Just based on customer data and sales data that I look at all the time. Our repeat customers and returning customers are usually buying on an average of every 4 years, generally speaking. And coming back and refreshing and updating and yeah. So, all right. Do we have any last minute questions from anyone, or should we hand it over to Chloe to spin the lucky wheel? All right.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm
All right,
excited.
let's do it. Chloe,
Okay.
take it away.
Yeah, we currently have 42 attendees. So I created a wheel. Let me share my screen. 42 people. So I'm just gonna go down the list alphabetically and match the number with the name and see who wins. So let's spin. $38. So let me quickly look down the list and see who 38 is. Yeah, stop sharing. Stay tuned. Drum roll, please. Looks like it is Larissa.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Larissa.
If you could please put your email in the chat, we can reach out about coordinating the MacBook.
You can put it in the Q&A section, or if there's, Aretha, is there a private way that Larissa can share her email with us?
I can pull her name up. Well, yeah, she can send it to host and panelists. Are you still here, Larissa? You can send it to host and panelists. Just click on the link in the chat, click on that down arrow and select host and panelists, so only we'll see it. But I can look her up in the Q&A in the registration page too.
Great.
Do you have to be present?
Sweet, we just got it.
Great.
Yep. There we go. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining and for all of the questions. We really appreciate your support, and please do reach out to us if you have any questions about refurbished hardware at TechSoup or hardware in general at TechSoup. We have a really solid team here that is working constantly to bring the latest and greatest new and refurbished devices to the nonprofits. Anybody have any last minute words from the panel? Nope. All right. Well, I think that that's a wrap then. Thank you all and have a great day.